So I just visited a city that might be the most underrated place in all of the Philippines for a solo 50-plus-year-old guy to do early retirement to. And for some reason, it's not being talked about enough. So welcome back to Solo Life Abroad. If you're new here, I've been exploring the Philippines for the last 2 months, visiting all the major cities that everyone talks about on YouTube for expats to retire to, and using a scorecard to do it, looking at categories like housing, recreation, healthcare, affordability, things like that. And it's the same scorecard, actually, that got a lot of you arguing with me in the comment section about Dumaguete. Well, today we're talking about Iloilo. So right off the bat, I just want to say I do not think that Iloilo is getting the attention it deserves. The spotlight's on Cebu City and Dumaguete, and honestly, I don't get that because Iloilo is quietly doing pretty much everything right. So for men from America and Canada, I think you're going to love it. A lot of these cities that I've been visiting, they do a couple of things right, and there's attractive qualities, but Iloilo is firing on all cylinders, meaning they're doing almost everything right, but yet almost no one is talking about it. And that's really perplexing to me. I thought maybe there was a catch, a big downside to Iloilo. And honestly, after a week there, I did not find it. But what I did find, and this is totally unique for Iloilo, is that it's probably the most wholesome city in all of the Philippines. By that, I mean there's no real red light district to speak of. It's very family oriented. It's not oriented around bars and partying and nightlife. It's very much about families living their lives, going through their day to day, shopping, eating, doing normal family things, mostly recreation. And I think for most solo expats, that's actually a really good influence and a good thing for you to experience compared to some other cities like maybe the Angeles area, Rojas City, or Manila. So that different energy, that wholesome energy, I'll call it, I think is appropriate and necessary for those solo men who, yeah, you might want a girlfriend or a wife, and you might want a date, and Iloilo offers that. But I think having a city that is wholesome without a red light district will help put curbs on drinking, spending, partying, and doing things that basically lead to unhealthy outcomes. But if you're looking for a beach or white sand paradise, no, Iloilo is definitely not that. So let's go category by category and get into it. All right, so the first big category is cost and lifestyle. And of course, that's made up primarily of housing. And overall, I am rating Iloilo, I'm looking at my notes down here, as 4 out of 5 stars on this one. It is definitely more expensive than the last city I reviewed, which was Bacolod, which is just a short ferry ride away, but overall less expensive than Cebu or Manila, especially BGC. So as far as your overall value for housing, I would say it's middle of the road. There's a wide variety of housing options, something for every budget, right in line with expectations. That's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And I asked AI about this and it validated, yep, cheaper than BGC, cheaper than Manila, cheaper than Cebu, coming in right around the prices you would find in the third largest city of Davao, but still higher than you will find across the water in Bacolod, which is only about a 1 hour ferry ride away. All right, let's talk about healthcare. For this, I'm rating Iloilo as 5 out of 5 stars, perfect score, because there are at least 6 major hospitals, many of which are teaching hospitals. Ilo is a university town and it does have nursing and medical programs there. So there's a big influx of nursing students who are constantly graduating, new doctors getting their residency. So the entire area is known generally as a healthcare type of city. The whole city is oriented around healthcare. That's why it gets 5 out of 5 stars. So in addition to those big major hospitals where they do speak English and they have virtually every service, there's also regional hospitals of a little bit lower quality, but lower prices. And there are private clinics, of course, to get diagnostics and blood work and things like that. So overall, I think the quality of healthcare, the variety, the closeness to it, the ability to get to emergency services, if you had a heart attack or a stroke, is actually really good. But having a great healthcare system doesn't really help you too much if it's difficult to get to a hospital. So let's talk about the next category, which is infrastructure. Iloilo actually has really good infrastructure, and I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars on this one. Typical in the old part of the city, it's more like the rest of the Philippines. Narrower roads, less well-maintained, poor sidewalks, so difficult to walk around. Not terrible, but not anything particularly special. but the city has grown and expanded. And as soon as you get outside of the old part of the city, it is all master planned community. And they plan the roads to be really well with bike lanes and sidewalks and crosswalks and traffic lights. And drivers there generally are trained or they care about pedestrian safety. So in most crosswalks, they will absolutely yield to you. In some major intersections, there's a cop there, and if they violate that rule, they will get a ticket. So road quality and traffic rules and all of that are enforced well in Iloilo. Now, as far as power infrastructure goes, it is pretty good, but like everywhere else in the Philippines and the Visayas, yep, when the temperature goes up and everyone's running their air conditioner, Iloilo will get brownouts or blackouts, but they're relatively short-lived. If you do decide to pony up and live in a high-rise condo, they're going to have backup generators. So your brownout experience might just be a couple of seconds while it cuts over to the generator, but then everything comes back on. Now, some of you have asked me about trash and flooding, and one of the things about Iloilo that I'll get to in the recreation section is the Esplanade, which is a pathway that runs for many miles along the major river system. And that esplanade originally was conceived as a drainage solution, and it does work. So while you can get some localized flooding on specific streets in certain parts of the city, by and large, Iloilo has excellent drainage. So when they get heavy rains, flooding for the most part is not going to be an issue. Another thing you guys have asked me about is trash and litter and smells, which was a huge problem in Cebu City. For me, it was a problem anyway. Iloilo excels in this area. They have anti-litter laws that are enforced. You can get a ticket for littering. The city does put out public trash bins that people take advantage of. So as you walk around the majority of the city, there's just not a trash or litter problem. Let's talk about beach and nature. I'm going with 4 out of 5 stars on this one too. And similar to Bacolod, Iloilo is not known as a beach town. There's not going to be white sand beaches. So if that's your idea of paradise that you're looking for, Iloilo is probably not going to be for you. But there are plenty of beaches close by. Guimaras Island is just a short ferry ride, maybe 20, 30 minutes, that has waterfalls, nature trails, all of that. And I talked about that in the Bacolod video. So go watch that one if you haven't already. So because of its proximity, I think, to Guimaras and to Bacolod, all of it collectively offers all the recreation opportunities that you could possibly hope for. So if you want to get out in the nature, go canyoneering or get under a waterfall or go hiking, mountain biking, or even doing things like motocross, you can do that in the area. So if you're open to an hour drive or a day trip or a weekend trip, you absolutely can get to those. So 4 out of 5 stars. It's solid in that regard. And it is the Visayas, which offers probably more recreation than anywhere else in the entirety of the Philippines. You just have to put in a slight bit of effort to get to it. All right, let's talk about modern conveniences and traffic. Another area where Iloilo excels, and I'm going with 4 out of 5 stars on this one, might be a 5 out of 5, because the city does offer all of the modern conveniences, big malls, great grocery stores, imported foods, basically everything that you could need. And if you can't get an Iloilo within a quick ferry ride, you could be in Bacolod getting what you need. So the region in general, and Iloilo specifically, offers all of the modern amenities, but traffic is not a nightmare. Iloilo so far is the single best city I have seen that has good traffic flow, good stoplights, cops where you need them regulating traffic, and it's just a breeze, basically. All right, I could talk about infrastructure and logistics all day long, but let's get into the overall vibe of Iloilo. Now, I'm only giving it 3 out of 5 stars in this category, but don't let that fool you. I'm not saying that the vibe is mediocre or bad, but what I am saying is that the vibe of Iloilo is sort of specific, and some people may find it a little bit boring or limited. I saw one comment a few minutes ago on another video that said Iloilo is lame. Now, I suspect that comment is from someone who is into drinking and partying, because that is not what Iloilo is all about. It is for students who are going through university, and it is for growing families who want a lovely, safe, recreation-oriented place to raise a family. Now, you may not have a family, you may not be looking to get married there, but I think it's important for single men to recognize that if you want a long life You do not want to get down the rabbit hole of sitting on a bar stool and drinking and getting fat and getting unhealthy. I think it's really important for men to stay active, and that's exactly what Iloilo offers. But if you're looking for nightlife like you might get in BGC or Makati or Angeles City, Iloilo is probably not the place for you. But if you want to walk a mall and go shopping and have nice restaurants and go to movies and get outside and do recreation, it's got all of that. But that's not for everybody. Some people really do need the excitement of a big city. They might find that Iloilo is just a little too mellow, a little too family oriented, perhaps a little too quiet. But for me personally, since I don't drink anymore and getting back in shape and dropping 30 pounds is a big priority for me, that's exactly what I want. So for me personally, the vibe is a 5 out of 5, but I recognize that's not everyone's cup of tea, so I went with 3 out of 5. Now, let's talk about recreation and exercise and getting outdoors. Within the city itself, there is a network of pathways called the Esplanade. You're probably seeing some B-roll right now that shows what that looks like. And everybody who talks about Iloilo sells this as its single strongest point for a couple of reasons. One is it's pretty. There's lots of landscaping with bushes and trees, and it's just a heavily landscaped area. Part of the reason is for the drainage that I discussed earlier, but it works to create a visually appealing environment. It is wide and it's smooth, and you can walk, run, jog, cycle, whatever you want to do. There's plenty of room without bumping elbows with everybody else, and you can do it for miles along a nice scenic river. So there's no other city in all of the Philippines that offers such an amazing network of bike paths and running paths along a river the way that Iloilo does. So for that reason alone, that feature alone, I would say the recreation opportunities, the exercise opportunities are probably the best in the Philippines. So I'm going with 5 out of 5 stars in this outdoor recreation category. So when it comes to just overall getting fit and staying healthy, Iloilo outshines any other city in the Philippines. And again, while that may not be super important to you, I want it to be important to you. I want you to care about your health. And Iloilo is a great place to get back in shape and then maintain a lifestyle that keeps you in shape, which will reduce your healthcare costs and improve your overall quality of life. Which leads us to, what is the overall value of Iloilo? How does it rank? I'm going with 4 out of 5 stars on this. Although the housing costs are not going to be dirt cheap like they are in Bacolod or in a province, perhaps, I think it is the most Western city, or the one that comes closest to matching what we are used to in the United States and Canada. So that's why I think Iloilo is actually the true soft landing spot for all of the Philippines. I don't know why people keep referring to Cebu City as a soft landing. To me, Cebu City is actually a harsh landing. If you want a true soft landing, go check out Iloilo. Spend a month there, look at the housing, look at the condo prices, and go jogging. Get on that Esplanade and go for a bike ride, and then see how you feel. It's exactly what I've been looking for. And if I ended my trip right there after visiting Iloilo, and someone said, Ryan, pick the city that you're going to retire in, well, it would be Iloilo. But based on feedback so far of people looking for a city that is clean, doesn't have a trash problem, doesn't have a traffic problem, no air quality problems, good infrastructure, good roads, good shopping, and just a place to get outdoors and do recreation, Iloilo offers all of that. So that total score, with all of that said, is 33 out of 40 stars. And that is the new high score for any city that I've reviewed so far in the Philippines. I hope you found it helpful. Leave a comment and I'll see you in the next video. So long.